Hey, I'm Blair Best. It's Thursday here on The Story, and tonight, Mayor Keith Wilson says the city will resume enforcement of the camping ban this weekend. Why Portlanders should not expect any major changes. Plus, we head to Washington State, where more than 500,000 acres of state forests are considered dead or dying. The reason why and what can be done about it. But first, local services for people needing food have already had a busy month, and that's only expected to continue as all signs point to SNAP benefits not arriving on Saturday. And it's our big story tonight. In the heart of Old Town.
Often we're sort of the last stop for people.
On the corner of Northwest Gleason and 3rd Avenue, the line of hungry Portlanders continues to grow.
As services start to diminish upstream from us, that means that the need at our location is only going to increase.
Scott Kerman runs Blanchet House, a nonprofit helping the homeless and low-income families by serving 3 free meals a day, 6 days a week.
The kitchen is always cracking.
You do different jobs, volunteers do different jobs.
Joanne is on salad duty.
There's people who need food. They serve hundreds of meals a day.
Blanchet House is on track to serve 36,000 meals this month. That's 6,000 more than last October. They expect that number to grow come Saturday. Due to the federal government shutdown, that's when more than 750,000 Oregonians won't receive their food stamp benefits, monthly grocery money from the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP.
I think the SNAP situation is terrible. Don't get me started.
The SNAP benefit cliff that is going to, really just decimate people who rely on these benefits.
Nearly 140,000 people in Multnomah County alone receive SNAP money.
We're bracing for lines that are really going to strain our ability to make sure everybody gets a plate.
I know it's been a difficult time and is putting stress and strain on all of us.
Jessica Amaya Hoffman is a deputy director at the Oregon Department of Human Services, the state agency in charge of handing out SNAP money.
And frankly, this has never happened before. So I think it feels particularly like we don't know where to turn in this moment.
She encourages people to keep applying for SNAP benefits despite the shutdown.
Even if we cannot release benefits, we're getting all of that ready to go so that the minute that we have those funds released, folks can have access to food.
On Wednesday, Governor Tina Kotek declared a 60-day food security emergency and directed the Department of Human Services to send $5 million to the Oregon Food Bank.
I think it's going to make sure that the Oregon Food Bank doesn't get depleted in the month of November.
But for smaller providers,
we just don't have the donations to keep up with the demand.
They're looking to the community to meet the need that's growing right outside their door.
I'm trying to do what I can, and that's what everybody here is doing.
So today, Blanchet House decided to buy more tables to add to their dining room. One way they're trying to respond to the greater need. But they continue to accept donations and help from volunteers. By the way, rumors have swirled online that unspent money on EBT cards will disappear on Saturday. Well, that's not true. Any unspent money on your card will roll over into next month. And by the way, numerous local businesses have stepped up to offer donations, fundraise, and even give out free meals for people impacted by the loss of SNAP benefits. To find a full list and add to the list if we're missing something, text us the word SNAP at 503-226-5088, and we'll send you a link. And if you're worried about finding food for you, your family, or your neighbors, be sure to check it out. Now, when it comes to Congress funding SNAP and reopening the government, the stalemate and political finger-pointing continues. There have been bills introduced to use contingency funds to keep food assistance programs running while the shutdown continues, including one from a Republican senator. But Republican leadership in Congress is not allowing them to go anywhere. Today, House Speaker Mike Johnson made it clear that the GOP sees this as an all-or-nothing issue, either reopen the entire government or get nothing.
Because if you deviate from the goal of reopening the entire government, Chuck Schumer and the radicals over there will continue to play games with people's paychecks, their livelihoods. And if you do just part of this, it will reduce the pressure for them to do all of it, to do their basic job, and that is reopen the government. This is very real and very serious, and they can end it today. They can do it right now. All they have to do is, we just need 5 more Democrats in the Senate to help us reach the 60-vote threshold. We don't have enough Republicans to do the right thing on our own. We need them to do the right thing.
Today is day 30 of the government shutdown. There have been 14 failed votes to reopen it, including one today. Democrats continue to reject the GOP funding bill to reopen all federal programs, pushing for a deal on health care financial assistance. And their efforts to pass individual bills to fund certain programs like SNAP aren't going anywhere, as you just heard from Speaker Johnson there. His colleague in the Senate, Majority Leader John Thune, got heated last night on the Senate floor.
SNAP recipients shouldn't go without food. People should be getting paid in this country. And we've tried to do that 13 times. And you voted no 13 times. This isn't a political game. These are real people's lives that we're talking about. And you all have just figured out, 29 days in, that, oh, there might be some consequences. There are people who run out of money.
Earlier today, Washington Senator Patty Murray pointed to the bipartisan efforts to keep SNAP funded while lawmakers hash out reopening the full government, putting the blame on Senator Thune and Speaker Johnson's hardball, all-or-nothing approach.
Democrats have been on the floor offering bills, and in fact, there are some Republicans offering bills on the floor, but the Republican leader has refused to bring those up and denied our attempts to even try and take care of SNAP beneficiaries. And I want to say this about SNAP because I know it's getting a lot of attention right now. Last summer in the Republicans' Big Beautiful Bill, they enacted the largest cut to SNAP in history, in American history. And today, yes, SNAP beneficiaries, we are all concerned about them. There is a Republican and a Democratic proposal to fix it, and right now the Republican leadership is saying no to that.
Today, the city of Portland announced that starting Saturday, Portland police will resume enforcement of the city's camping ban. Mayor Keith Wilson paused the enforcement back in February in order to stand up more shelter beds. And now that around 1,000 additional beds are open or soon to be open, enforcement is back on the table. Though the mayor says the focus will be to connect people with shelter and support services rather than simply arresting them.
There are 2 pieces to this ordinance. First, if we have enough shelter, which we do, camping isn't allowed in public spaces. Second, any camping must be responsible. Encampments can't block pedestrian access, set fires, dump trash, or do other things that hurt people or the environment. I've asked our police to issue citations for these violations. They'll be focusing on law-breaking behavior and actions that harm our community. No one will be arrested simply for camping, nor should they. However, we will arrest those who have open warrants or who have broken the law in ways that prey on our community.
Okay, in order for police to write someone a ticket, that person has to decline the offer of available shelter while camped on public property or in the right-of-way. They can also be ticketed for having a fire or leaving trash or belongings spread more than 2 feet from their tent. It's also worth noting people living out of RVs and vehicles are also subject to the camping ban if parked in the public right-of-way and if they refuse available shelter. Now, those tickets will have a court date, and if they plead guilty or are found guilty, the courts will decide the punishment. The mayor is urging minimal fines and for judges to refer people to services instead. The city says Portlanders should not expect a bunch of tickets being written in the coming weeks, as offers of shelter and services will come before police get involved. Today marked day 2 of the federal trial in downtown Portland, pitting the city and state of Oregon against the Trump administration over whether or not the president has the authority to send the National Guard to protect the ICE building. Kyle Boshi is outside the courthouse tonight with a recap of what happened today. Kyle?
Blair, 2 very different perspectives today. One, we heard from Portland police, which maintains they've got the situation outside the ICE facility under control and they don't need the National Guard. On the other, federal officers tasked with protecting that building, they say they're overwhelmed, they need assistance, and they're just not getting it.
Kyle, tell us about the video from a protest earlier this month that was played in court today.
Right, so lawyers with the city of Portland introduced this video and had an assistant chief from Portland Police kind of walk everyone through it. It shows a situation outside that ICE facility on October 18th when there was a large crowd of peaceful demonstrators outside the facility. At one point, a federal officer deploys a less than lethal round into the ground and it ricochets toward the ICE facility. As a result, those officers that were on the roof then deployed tear gas onto the crowd of peaceful protesters below. There was a lot of smoke, a lot of confusion, and the crowd dispersed. Several Portland police officers that were on scene felt the effects of that tear gas as well. It was interesting video, but Judge Karen Immerget kind of questioned why it was important. In fact, she redirected the lawyers for the city of Portland to focus on earlier events prior to President Trump signing that order deploying the National Guard.
And how about lawyers for the feds? What was their main point today?
Well, they called their first witnesses, two people from the Federal Protective Service. Those are the ones tasked with protecting all federal government buildings, in this case, the ICE facility. They describe the ongoing challenges that federal officers have faced since June when the protests began, described how really they are exhausted and how they've called on other agencies to bring in others who can help support this effort. In fact, in some cases, more than 100 at one time over a 24-hour period. But even that, they say, listen, we're spread thin and we can't sustain this effort. We definitely need the help of the National Guard. Again, that from federal officers.
And the trial was scheduled for 3 days. Is tomorrow still looking like the final day? And if so, when can we expect a ruling?
It appears that's likely the case. Judge Immerget has moved things along rapidly. Lunch breaks are fairly brief and any other breaks during the day are short. She's also kept arguments very focused throughout this trial, with the goal being sticking to 3 days. And again, tomorrow is expected to wrap up with closing arguments from both sides.
Okay, Kyla Boshi in downtown Portland tonight. Kyle, thank you. Well, coming up next on the story, we often hear about the revitalization of downtown Portland, right? But one restaurant that's been downtown for more than a century doesn't quite see it that way and is having to make tough choices about what comes next. We'll explain when the story returns. So a Portland restaurant that's been around for over a century is at risk of shutting down. Owners of the joint in Old Town say the downtown depression post-COVID has dried up their customer base, and a family legacy is now on the line. Jake Holter has the story.
We have always been here serving oysters, slanging chowder.
Dan and Louie's Oyster Bar has been part of the fabric of downtown Portland since 1907.
This one's from 1910, this one's from 1909.
There's a picture of the wall before all the plates were on it.
But owners Keone and Michelle Walksmith say the last 5 years have been incredibly tough.
We used to have a great lunch business, a great happy hour business. People were down here working and living. And since COVID, we've just seen so many people have moved away. So many businesses have closed, less tourists come. It's literally like when tourist season ended this year on Labor Day, it was just like business stopped. It's been the slowest September and October that we have ever seen.
Walksmith says tough decisions have had to be made, like closing 2 days a week, 3 during the winter, as well as cutting the staff's hours.
We've tried to keep everybody on, but we're just not making ends meet.
The ship is taking on water, but we got the buckets out and we're bailing as fast as we possibly can.
Keone is the 4th generation of Walksmith to own and operate the Oyster Bar after it was opened by his great-grandfather. He says that family tie means he's giving it absolutely everything he's got to hopefully be able to pass it down to his kids.
I kind of took it upon myself to see this business through my generation and hopefully have something to pass on. And the longevity of it since 1907, it's just, I really felt like it was something to hold on to.
And even in this moment of economic hardship, the Walksmiths say they recognize that others have it worse. With SNAP benefits set to not be distributed November 1st, Michelle says they wanted to do something to give back to the community.
We want to offer free chowder to people who've lost their SNAP benefits for the month of November or until SNAP starts up again. That way, we are giving back to our community.
They've set up a Venmo on their website for those who want to contribute to the chowder donation. Jake Holter, KGW News.
I love that. Okay, let's check on the weather with Chief Meteorologist Matt Zafino. Matt, talk to us. How's trick-or-treating forecast shaping up?
Oh, Blair, it's taking a turn for the wet, unfortunately.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I know. I mean, you're going to be a witch. Maybe you can work some magic on that.
I'll be here, actually. I will be on TV, so I won't even be trick-or-treating.
As a witch?
No.
All right, we can only hope. All right, there's still some color left in the sky up at Timberline, so I thought I'd share that with you. The clouds are clearing out right now, but they'll be back in the morning. There may be a beautiful sunrise if the clouds don't fully come in by that time, so look for that. But then it gets cloudy, and by late afternoon, it is raining, and it's going to stay rainy as we go through the bewitching hours and the trick-or-treating hours, unfortunately. So here's what it looks like hour by hour. 4 o'clock, fine. 5 o'clock, okay. But between 5 and 6, the rain starts ramping up. Then we're looking at about 1/10 of an inch an hour right on through the trick-or-treating hours, which means it's going to be really wet. So make sure the kids are prepared, and drivers, make sure you are on extra guard. Make sure, just keep your head on a swivel. Make sure you see the kids out there, because when it's rainy, it gets a little bit more difficult in the dark.
Good point.
Right, with the visibility.
We
want to make sure everybody is safe out there. All the witches, the goblins,
we
the
love
ghosts.
The witches.
Everybody.
You can't get over this.
No, I love it. I want to see your costume. All right, tomorrow night it will be rainy. We'll sum it up with our Scarecast, Blair.
Ooh.
It won't be that cold. We'll be in the mid-50s, but it will be wet, and it won't be that windy. I'm trying to sugarcoat it. I really am. I'm trying to just sprinkle this thing with candy corns. Yuck.
I don't like candy corn.
Neither do I. Not good candy. There's better. But again, it is going to be rainy, so make sure the kids have a way to stay dry. All right, so that's the Halloween forecast. What about the winter? Let's look at our winter forecast, okay? Now, we have a La Nina going on, and that is determined by this colder than normal water in the eastern tropical Pacific. And that usually means a wet winter for us in the Northwest, because it rearranges where the jet streams set up. And what it does is it puts high pressure a little bit farther west. We end up with this cold northerly flow. Also have the wet Pacific jet stream coming into the Northwest, and they kind of get together right here. So we usually end up with a good stormy winter for the Northwest. However, there's a couple other factors like the blob.
Your favorite thing.
What about blob?
You love blob.
Yeah, I especially love it when it begins to break down, which it looks like it's starting to do because of all the stormy weather we've had in the North Pacific. We're seeing the blue areas, that's water that is average temperature or even a little bit below. These areas are increasing as the area of warm water, which extended from the coast of Asia all the way to the coast of North America uninterrupted this summer, was beginning to break down a bit. So I think the blob will be less and less of a factor. So we can sum it up this way. Snow, yes, above average mountain snowfall. It should be a great ski season. Cold, there's an excellent chance of getting some Arctic air outbreaks here in the Northwest, which of course gives us the good chance of snow, wind, or an ice storm in the valleys. And then finally, just expect a lot of variability. I mean, we can go from an atmospheric river to Arctic blast in the course of like a week. We tend to get a lot of variations and a lot of stormy weather during a La Nina winter like this. So that's what I think we have coming up. But again, it's looking like a wet Halloween, unfortunately, Blair.
Okay, Matt, thanks so much.
You bet.
Well, coming up next on the story, our Environment Northwest team takes a closer look at a big problem in the state of Washington. How's this for a headline? Hundreds of thousands of trees are dying of thirst while being eaten alive. We'll explain why and the major issue with the most likely solution. That's when the story returns. Hundreds of thousands of trees across Washington are dying or are already dead. The State Department of Natural Resources says urgent action is needed. But as we reported earlier this week, DNR's funding for the upcoming year has been cut in half. Farah Jardrin with our Environment Northwest team takes a close look at what's killing the trees.
This old, very tall fir tree in Shoreline is coming down because it's dead and unstable.
A dead tree is a dangerous tree. That's just common sense.
Mike Stanton of Seattle Tree Services knows the risks. Dead trees are disease magnets, and the weather is making it worse. Washington's severe drought is part of the problem. Then severe storms, such as last November's bomb cyclone and February's windstorm, battered trees to their breaking point, creating invisible wounds that become gateways for microscopic menaces. And it's suspected powerful storms like the bomb cyclone triggered wind throw events. That's when insects either burrow into the bark of a tree for shelter, sensing the storm, or they're literally swept away by powerful winds and displaced to new trees or breeding material miles away.
After a windstorm, you always want to look for any cracks in the ground or a gap between the base of the tree and the soil.
Take this fir, for instance. It's suffering from root rot, which can be caused by too much moisture or drought, making it a prime host for insects.
Usually insects aren't the cause of the problem, but they kind of attack trees that are declining in health.
This tree is just a glimpse of a statewide crisis. Washington has about 22 million forested acres. The Department of Natural Resources manages about 3 million acres of state land. 545,000 acres are dead or dying, the equivalent of more than 500,000 football fields.
So it's really important that we get in and we address this.
DNR Commissioner Dave Upthegrove points to climate change as a root cause. As droughts intensify and insects thrive in warming forests, trees are dying of thirst while being eaten alive. It's a double assault, turning once green mountainsides into graveyards of standing dead timber, impacting eastern and western Washington.
We're concerned this trend could continue as our climate continues to warm.
The worst offenders, like the fir engraver and mountain pine beetle, are killing tens of thousands of trees. Others, including needlecast, strip away foliage, leaving forests vulnerable. One option is to remove those dead or dying trees and replant more resilient species like hemlock or cedar. But according to the DNR, the green it needs to remedy these issues is gone.
The funding that we've been provided to do this forest health and resilience work was cut significantly by the legislature, by more than 50%.
The state once spent $125 million every 2 years on forest health and wildfire response. Now, that's down to $40 million this year and only $20 million next year.
If the legislature doesn't step up and fund wildfire prevention and forest health, we're going to see more forest disease, more insects, and more wildfires.
Crews like Seattle Tree Services are clearing what they can, but across Washington, thousands of dead trees remain, posing risks to homes, roads, and entire communities.
But that's why I don't have tall trees around my house, because every windstorm we're taking trees off of houses or out of houses.
DNR says without more funding, the state can't keep up. So for now, the trees are still standing, and so are the risks. For Environment Northwest, I'm Farah Jadrin.
Well, that's the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. The good stuff is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. Have a great Thursday night. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night on Halloween at 6:30.